Speaking of ROI, the podcast for people using speaking to grow their business.
Can you evidence some of the ROI from it? The short answer is it's hard to evidence.
That's Marc Cohen, two-time AI operator turned VC investor. I have to say, it's refreshing to hear someone with a data and AI background talk about how hard it is to define the ROI of speaking. Instead of boiling it down to one number, he has other methods of measuring its value. And he's an active speaker at events and on podcasts because he believes in the value of the brand he's building. On this episode of Speaking of ROI, we cover speaking as a scalable way to build relationships, improv as a superpower for public speaking, the long game, visibility and trust over time, and much, much more. If you're an agency owner and part of your business growth plan for 2025 includes speaking at more events, then this is the podcast for you. Now back to Marc as he shares why he speaks at events.
Do you think brand awareness and network matter? Maybe it can be always measured, but actually the cost of measuring it might be so high that it's not the right thing to do. It's that if you can sit in front of people and build that awareness and credibility, then over time, those things have value.
Marc, please tell us how you use public speaking or speaking at events, conferences as a way to generate ROI and value for your business.
So a few different reasons why I do it. One is it increases visibility to me, to founders and to general network. And hopefully if that public speaking is good, I'm giving people a positive impression, generating competence for future relationships. I'm building credibility ahead of those. I try and do like founder events and founder advice events quite a bit as well. Is lots of people reach out to me for advice. Like 99% of the time, I can't give it because I have lots of calls on my time, but I like helping those group events where you're able to share with many people are a lot more time effective way to do that.
I love the fact that when you come into your homepage, it's a series of group photos. And I was just like, these must be all the people Marc's invested in. It's very people first. Instead of giving you a thesis, a logo and a random animation, here are the teams. Your vision and mission are incredibly brief on your website, like a couple of sentences. And I love that sort of certainty and intentionality in what you're trying to say. And so obviously, as you build Unbundled and you're measuring lots of KPIs and there's a lot of data in your background, are you measuring anything in terms of what makes a speaking opportunity deliver ROI?
The short answer is no. I'm not measuring everything. It's pretty ad hoc in terms of, do I think this is a good audience? Is it good for my reputation to be at this event? Occasionally there are events where you're like, that seems low quality, and actually it might be a negative thing to be seen there, but there isn't anything data driven on that. I need to redesign my website. It hasn't been redesigned for a bit, but you're right. Those bits, the mission and vision, people tell me don't change that. The front page is interesting because I really like it, and it's trying to show to founders that actually it's about the team rather than, hey, look at me, I've got all these logos. And so it's quite deliberate. The challenge, of course, is people go, well, what is your portfolio? And now I have to click through all those things to go and figure out what it is. So, swings and roundabouts, but deliberately for that reason.
I would follow all the other advice. Don't change the vision mission. Most people waffle for about a paragraph and a half and you finish reading it and go, what was that? And the way that you're just like, boom, boom, it sets the expectations for all the other elements of interaction. What are we going to expect in terms of conversation and ideas? And I'm really interested that, at this stage, you measure everything sort of intuitively without saying, okay, this event cost this much time away from the office, this much on travel, this much hanging around. Do you sort of think about that without necessarily checking it off a list?
There's opportunity cost for everything, even if it's a positive thing. You could be doing something else. And so you do have to think hard about, is this a good use of my time and better than other potential uses of my time? To a certain extent, it's hard to know. If it's a new event, you won't quite know. If it's choosing to do a podcast like this, I don't quite know how many people are going to be listening to it or who's going to be listening to it. And you have to go, well, It's very much a subjective judgment. Yes, you're thinking about all those things, but at the end of the day, there isn't enough information to make a fully data-driven decision.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. Because I've always been struggling to say, what is the value of speaking at events? But I think you've just said that it doesn't have that.
I think it's very much like top of funnel marketing, where it is hard to directly measure the ROI, but actually visibility, presence, brand awareness has value. That is very difficult to measure, but there is absolutely no doubt that it has value.
Yeah. I can't put it in a column, really, can we?
No, theoretically, if you're a big brand, you can go do surveys and go, try and figure out how that influences buying decisions over time. But for a smaller business, to a certain extent, anything that is top of funnel is going to be subjective.
I appreciate you sharing that, because I think my goal with this podcast is to have people like yourself who actively speak at events, and for us to share your experiences so the audience can go, oh, that feels like something I did last week, or that feels relatable. So on that note, can you take us back to the beginning when you first sort of started speaking at events, and just sort of share what it felt like and what was going on in your mind saying, yes, I am going to lean in and do this more? Can you relive that moment?
That's a good question. I'm not quite sure when I first started doing it. I think to a certain extent, I've kind of always felt comfortable doing those things. I don't think I always understood the value of them, of building a brand and how useful that is in the long term. And it is a long game when you're trying to build a brand. When I moved to set up Unbundled, my first thought was that I want to invest. I'm smaller than probably every other VC out there. I was originally investing my own money and backing myself to be good at this. What I need to do is generate as amazing deal flow as I possibly can. At that point, I was like, okay, this is why I go and I post on LinkedIn every day and do as many events as possible. Can I do as many podcasts as possible? Can I get myself and who I am out there in front of as many people as possible? Primarily, can I generate incredible deal flow? Can people go, yes, I remember who Marc is, and actually he seems like a smart, decent guy and someone who I would be very happy to deal with over the next, 5 to 10 years of my business.
And how long has this been since that sort of...
Unbundled set up sort of end of August 22. And I think before that, I wasn't really focused on the benefits of those things or even looking for them. I might do them if they arose, but because I instantly went, look, this is me, and people don't know, they need to know that I'm there. And at that point, I instantly got, in a way that I hadn't done before, this is mission critical for me.
What would be highlights of inbound that you've created through speaking at events? What would be a couple of highlights on different areas of your audience?
But again, it's very hard to narrow it down. Typically, it's not, oh, I've applied for funding because I saw you at that event. It's one of many things, because often we're referred by other founders and you don't quite know the original source. I know the title of this is ROI, and you're trying to nail down, can you evidence some of the ROI from it? The short answer is it's hard to evidence because it feels like that's what you're trying to get to.
That is the headline. That is what I've been trying. In this little back and forth, it's like there is no ROI, or the ROI is there if you see it and if you're active, but there's no singular headline, which I often feel social media is craving for you to reduce it to something really like ka-ding. And I'm like, it isn't. It's this holistic thing.
Yeah. And I think do you think brand awareness and network matter? And how you measure that is a whole other, if it can be measured, or if it's like, maybe it can be always measured, but actually the cost of measuring it might be so high that it's not the right thing to do. It's if you can sit in front of people and build that awareness and credibility, then over time, those things have value.
Yes, absolutely. I appreciate you sharing so candidly, because it's something that we don't often go, oh, I'm not actually measuring it, or it feels right, so I'm going to keep doing it. We're all sort of obsessed with getting these metrics and systems and processes. I love what you're saying, because it is such a do I have a good sense check on this? Is this a good use of my time? Am I going to read the signals that maybe give me a hint that this is going to be a good one? And it is so intuitive. So I'm really glad you said that.
And some things you can do ahead of time is talk to other people who've spoken at an event before and ask what they got out of it, or if they thought it was a high quality event. You can do those things to figure out the quality of the event, how many people are likely to be there, what sorts of people are likely to be there. Did they feel that they got any benefit from it? So it doesn't mean you just have to close your eyes and go, I'm going to do this one or not do this one. You can research the people that are running it. There's a whole host of different things that you can do ahead of time to figure out whether or not you think it's worth doing.
If you've been holding back from speaking because you can't measure the exact ROI, Marc's right. Some of the best opportunities don't fit into a spreadsheet. But that doesn't mean they're not worth it. Take the 2-minute self-assessment to see where you are in your speaker journey and what's holding you back. Pause now, click the link in the show notes, and then come back. Because next, Marc shares how improv training made him a better speaker and helped him think on his feet in high-stakes moments.
But you won't be able to boil that down to a number.
No.
I'm a guy and a data guy and a systematic trading guy and all that stuff. I would love to be able to boil it down to a number. I would absolutely love to, but today that would be hard.
Thank you for sharing that, because it's very refreshing to have that perspective out there without naming anybody, obviously. But like, what has there been any examples where your sort of red flag has gone off and you're like, okay, I'm going to politely decline this speaking opportunity? Is there anything that you could share with the audience, like, watch out for this?
There are sometimes events where I wasn't sure about doing it because of the quality of the other people that were also speaking. And then I saw that someone who I did respect had spoken at that event. I was like, okay, that makes it interesting. Maybe I'll do a bit more research. So I reached out to them directly and they confirmed my suspicions that it wasn't the highest quality. So that's a thing. Can you see what the quality of the other speakers are? Do they look like they're good or they're not good? And you won't always know, of course, but if you do know, if they've run previous events, because to a certain extent, that will reflect on you, right? The people that you're sat alongside.
That's fantastic advice. It's a bit like Amazon or buying online. It's like, who else bought? Who else has sort of committed a certain amount of reputational time and effort to something? That's a really good one. Thank you. If we jump back to early days, you're going to more events, you're talking, and then you look back at your most recent speaking opportunity. What do you think is your biggest transformation?
That's a good question. I think I just feel very comfortable doing these things now, almost no matter how many people there or what the questions are going to be. Some of that is just experience from having done some before. And we spoke before this started. I was like, you can take this conversation wherever you want. I'll be entirely comfortable with that. But some of that is just experience. And what we talked about this is I've done quite a lot of improv. So that's a thing where, I mean, you get up and you don't know what you're going to have to do. Sometimes that's high quality and sometimes that's lower quality. There are way better improvisers than me out there, but you still reach that level of comfort, which is like, I'm going to be here and it'll be fine no matter what the situation I'm placed in, the words that come out will be fine. I think that's a thing that has definitely helped.
And was there a moment that sort of led you to the door of improv? Because I've heard a lot of people really celebrate improv as an idea for so many different parts of life and business. Was there a moment where it wobbled a bit and then you went, right, I need to work on this, and you got to improv?
It was definitely an interesting path to improv. About 6 years ago, I read an article about putting yourself into difficult situations and how that was very good for personal growth, right? For example, if you're a founder, if you're building your own business, you're going to have to do 100 things you've never done before. And you have to kind of go, well, even if I'm uncomfortable, I'm just going to do them anyway, right? Anyway, so it was with that mindset. And I think there were 3 things in there, and I can't remember what all of them were. One of them was like, next time you're at dinner, find a table that looks like it would be the least welcoming and just go talk to them, right? One of the other ones was, the next time you get a flight, deliberately sit in the wrong seat. When the person comes up to you and says, I think this is my seat, say, no, I've checked my ticket, it definitely isn't. place yourself into those most awkward situations you can. I read this article and I was inspired by it. I don't think I did the plane one. I might have. I
Yeah.
think I did the dinner one a couple of times. At the time, I thought, what I'm going to do is one of those intensive stand-up comedy courses. I'm going to do that. Now I live on Guernsey. It's a small island. There wasn't any stand-up here. There used to be some improv, and there is again. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll do improv. Then that didn't happen. Then I found a residential in the UK. And I went and I did that residential, never ever having done any improv before. I got there and I was awful. Honestly, I thought I could do it because I'm quite chatty and outgoing. I thought that will translate into I can do this and just talk and whatever. It was like a 4-day thing. Day one, I just froze pretty much the whole time. But it was such a lovely, warm, supportive community. You didn't feel good about that, but it was as good as you could feel given how badly it was going. By the end of the event, I had like an amazing experience. And actually, I've gone to that residential every year since then and do a bit more. There is some here in Guernsey now. And, 18 months or so, I finally got the chance to do a stand-up course. And I do that now, as I think I try and do that every time I'm in London or wherever I am. I try and do some open mic spots. In terms of directly getting into improv, that was the story. It was deliberately this, like, put yourself into uncomfortable positions. It was deeply uncomfortable the first time I did it. Not so anymore because I've done it enough where I'm like, okay, it doesn't mean that there's no fear or that it's always easy, but it's something I've become a lot more comfortable with. And it is the thing that brings me joy now.
Thank you for sharing that. I mean, I remember a friend started to do it and I just didn't believe it was a bit too much. Like I couldn't did you ever watch League of Gentlemen on BBC?
Oh yeah.
The comedy show.
Amazing.
They had the Legs Akimbo theatre groups.
Yeah.
I just couldn't get that out of my head. And that was this real barrier for me. And I remember going to one of the sessions and as an audience member and finding it all a bit cringe, but that was all in my own perception. But the reason I brought it up, because I saw it on your website and do you know Alan Alda, the American comedian from MASH? He's got a great podcast called Clear and Vivid. He does lots of conversations about communication and science. And he's always bringing it back to improv. Through listening to his podcast, I realized that my sketching, which is one of the things that connected us, was my version of improv. Rather than put myself out there on a stage and riff in terms of taking a story and a performance somewhere, I've really gone into the sketching because I don't know what people are going to say. It's very much about me tuning in as an active listener in the audience and interpreting it through sketch. And so I think improv can be so many things. And it is what you highlighted, being comfortable with uncomfortable situations and intentionally driving towards them because then you get used to it. I wish that as a teenager, someone had sat me down and said, get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because I think it would have helped. I can look back at so many situations that I didn't put myself into because I was scared of a bit of discomfort. And I'm like, oh, I would love to know what happened if I had.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of talking on stage. So I think when you're there, do you use improv as a way to channel your stage time, or is it something that's just part of what you do?
I think it's something that's just given me the comfort that whatever question comes up, the answer will be fine, right? Yeah. Particularly if you're talking in an area where I have some level of expertise. Normally you're talking in a situation you don't know what it's going to be or anything like that. It's like, this will be fine, right? The whole thing will be fine. Everything will be okay. When I went on that thing, someone said to me, you need to get to the point where you're comfortable with that whatever comes out your mouth will be fine. And when you get to that point, if you can believe that when you're doing improv gets a bit easier. It's like, yes, I don't know what words are coming out ahead of time. No one plans what all their words are for the next 5 sentences they're going to say ahead of time. No, we just sit here and talk like I'm doing now. And so it's that level of comfort with whatever comes out will be fine. Don't worry about it.
So I just got a couple more questions. And so I remember sitting in the audience at the Rare Founders event on the Seed Legal stage, listening to your sort of Q&A. And you said something like, if you're a founder out there and you want to pitch me, go and make a video pitch and send it in through my website. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting. It's very clear. There's a little degree of friction. There's a certain expectation. If you can't sort this out, then there's no point in having more conversations. How do you find those pitches that come in? And if you were to give somebody advice, because a founder needs to pitch to investors, but also pitch on stage, conferences, media, life's a pitch. It's not stopping. Like, what advice would you give, having seen lots of people communicate? What's one thing that you want to see more of and one thing that you wish people did less?
I think you need to be able to present the case for your business succinctly and compellingly. And so that people have challenges with that, right? Where they go, oh, this isn't enough time. I need more time to explain what it is and what I'm doing. And I would push back on that and go, maybe that means you don't actually understand your business as well as you think you do. And people may object to that, because if you're one of those people, and I don't mean to criticize, but if you know your business well, you'll go, this is what I do. This is the problem that I solve. This is why people will pay for it. This is how we solve it. This is a huge market opportunity. Boom, done. Try and get yourself to that point where it makes sense in as concise a way as possible. You will probably understand your business better at the end of that process as well.
Absolutely. It's that concept of brevity, right? Whenever I do pitch challenges and it's like 30 seconds, 3 minutes, people are like, oh, that's not enough time. I'm like, it's actually plenty of time if you're in the audience's perspective, listening, and someone's using attention that you don't get a refund on, and it doesn't go anywhere. That's actually worse. So I want to know that in 30 seconds rather than 10 minutes. So that's super good advice. Where would you like people to come and find you? What's your main channels?
So I'm on LinkedIn, where I'm very active. Please come and connect with me. Come check out my website. Come follow me on LinkedIn. See my content. If you like it at some point, maybe we'll do some business together.
When's your next stand-up in London?
I don't know when my next one is in London. I've got one here in Guernsey a week today, and I'm about to go on a 5-week trip to the US, and I plan to do a load of open mics while I'm over there as well. So I'm not quite sure when my next London gig is.
So tell us, just as we wrap up, what's the plan for the US? You're going to hit as many stages as you can and just live in that discomfort?
So yes, the primary plan is I'm going out there to meet like funds that can follow it in my portfolio, because you need to get to the US to get the biggest outcomes. The market is 10 to 20 times the size. It's hard to raise and get in contact with those people without warm intros. I want to be able to provide those. The primary plan is not for the stand-up. The stand-up is like, I'll have some evenings to myself. This will be a fun thing to go and do. And if it goes badly, they'll never see me again, right? Which is very freeing. The gig next Wednesday is in Guernsey, and I will probably, Guernsey is a small place, I will have to see those people walking down the high street the next day. So it better be good. But like the US, it's just practice, stage time. It's about stage time and getting used and comfortable to be on stage, trying out your material. Can you make it better? Can you make any subtle adjustments? Always record myself and watch it, which is probably good advice for any public speaking event. The reason it's difficult is because you're imperfect, and you need to see what those imperfections are in order to learn from it. It is about getting as much stage time as possible, honing the craft and learning from the imperfections.
Thank you so much, Marc. I wish you have a massive fun on that trip, and any videos that you shoot, would love to see those on LinkedIn or wherever. The last thing I think that's super powerful is that you're going somewhere to do a performance, and then at the end of the day, you vanish. You get everything. You got the experience, the feeling, the recognition, and then you're off to the next one. So that's brilliant. Fantastic.
Thanks very much, Wilson.
Marc's journey into speaking wasn't scripted. It evolved. And if you're listening to this, yours is still evolving too. Whether you're just starting or already on stage, there's always a next step. So before you go, do one thing. Share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. And if you're enjoying these conversations, a quick follow or review goes a long way to growing the show.